Costa Rica real estate scams are something you might have read about if you've been looking for property here in Costa Rica. My name is Matt Rosensteel. I'm the owner-broker of Latitude 10 Realty here in Playa Junquial, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. It's our first live Wednesday night Costa Rica chat with Costa Rica Matt. I've got a new haircut, all kinds of optimism that 2022 is going to be filled with lots of joy and amazing YouTube broadcasts. I look forward to you all joining me here on my channel, Costa Rica Matt, for all kinds of relevant, timely Costa Rica real estate information. Thanks very much, Pigs76, for your first comment of the evening. Tonight, our topic is Costa Rica real estate scams. And to be clear, my purpose is not at all to call out particular scammers or give you some kind of crude, lewd stories about the wild days of Costa Rica real estate. To be honest, this is a pretty secure market, and if you follow some very straightforward steps to protect yourself, which is something we'll be covering, really there are fewer and fewer people who are becoming the victims of any kind of scams over the years here in Costa Rica. As always, my experience is based on my career in real estate here in Guanacaste, the Nicoya Peninsula, and this is a very diverse country when it comes to real estate, so do take all of my advice with a grain of salt that I'm out here in the western part of Costa Rica. Tonight, we're going to go over sort of four major categories of scams here in the country, or really shady things that happen in the real estate market that you should be aware of. I'm going to focus on helping you figure out how you cannot become a victim of one of these shady practices, and really try and focus on guiding you towards a successful real estate purchase here in Costa Rica. The four sort of categories that we want to cover are, first of all, going to be the presence of intermediaries in the Costa Rica real estate market who really have nothing to do with either selling or listing property. Second of all, we're going to talk about Costa Rica real estate agents who might be selling beachfront property that they say has secure ownership, that you'll be able to get a concession, that there's even a title whatsoever, and they may not even have an existing concession. Third, we'll cover a huge topic of concern for people, which is situations where Costa Rica lawyers help people steal land, or help rather third-party entities steal land here in the country. And finally, we'll cover one of the most common shady practices and something you need to watch out for, which is shoddy due diligence done by lawyers who are really just trying to get a sale done rather than protect everyone's interests. Again, my name is Matt Rosensteel, Latitude 10 Realty. Thank you very much for joining me. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. And here's to a successful 2022. Stay tuned. Greetings from Costa Rica. My name is Matt Rosensteel, and tonight, the topic of my Wednesday night live Costa Rica chat is Costa Rica real estate scams. And in particular, I just went over a little bit about the four categories that we're going to cover if you're looking for property here in Costa Rica and you're worried about bad stories you've heard online. This episode is absolutely for you, because rather than focus on those bad stories, I want to give tips on how you can absolutely avoid those situations even coming into play as you search for property here. Because as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is absolutely a secure place to buy property if you proceed correctly and do your due diligence with a good team. Before we get to the meat of our episode tonight, I do want to quickly go over Costa Rica Matt's 2022 New Year's resolution. And this is very important, especially for you YouTube viewers. Of course, since my life revolves entirely around providing great information here, my New Year's resolution is to continue doing so in the following informative format that we'll see throughout 2022. Tuesday nights, or rather on Tuesdays, I'm going to be focused on providing a informative video about any one of the normal topics that I've been covering in my sort of frequently asked questions series. On Saturdays, I'm going to commit to providing you with a tour of a piece of real estate in my area or nearby so that you can enjoy an escape to Costa Rica. And as always, I do hope to keep up my Wednesday night live Costa Rica chats, where we'll be taking questions from viewers all month, compiling those into a master list. And on the last Wednesday night of every month, I will then go back through all of your questions rather than covering some informative topic, and we'll focus on just going over questions. So do be sure to post them in the comments. I have an extra assistant, Marks, who's going to be helping me track those questions so that we can get them into the database and make sure that at the end of the month, I'm handling them. My other 2022 New Year's resolution, definitely going to be more responsible. So cheers to everyone out there. And without further ado, let's start going over 4 different kinds of real estate scams and really just shady practices that you see here in Costa Rica and that I want you to avoid, given how much I love you and how easy it can be to do so. First of all, let's cover some good news here. Really, there are simple methods that you can avoid any kind of shady situation here in the country that I want to go over before covering the scams, so that really we're focused on how this doesn't even become an issue. And first and foremost, if you've watched my channel before through a number of interviews and other videos, the choice of your team, the people who are going to help you acquire property here in Costa Rica, is absolutely fundamentally important. And you shouldn't hesitate to spend months, if not at least weeks, on the ground in Costa Rica, figuring out who your team is going to be. And my second point, really, every single scam and every single shady practice in Costa Rica real estate can be avoided if you focus on the ground intelligence rather than online marketing. We're going to go over how some of the online marketing issues and the shady practices come into play. But really, it's so important, and I emphasize it so many times, because your single, parting of the roads in the woods starts where you choose the people who are going to guide you in your investment. Now, obviously, I have a range of expertise that stretches over a certain area of coastline to the west of the Liberia International Airport. If people contact me looking for real estate in Nosara, I tell them, thank you very much for your interest, but absolutely I can't help you there. Unfortunately, you may find that there are a lot of actors who get involved in real estate here who do not have the necessary expertise in the area in which you're focused. And you'll find out that there are a lot of actors online, people who will be corresponding with you via email, providing information, helping you consider different areas of Costa Rica. They seem absolutely legitimate, and their online presence and whatever they've done to get your email isn't the only step to making sure that they're trustworthy. Nothing to me guarantees the success of a Costa Rica real estate buyer more than if they come to the country, spend time in the community where they want to purchase, and get to know their realtor, their lawyer, their builder, everybody involved in their transaction while they're here in the country, rather than slipping into a relationship where you've met somebody online and decided that they're going to help you make this substantial investment based on friendly emails, maybe a great website or something that looks good online. Go to the community, ask as many people as possible, get that on the ground intelligence, and use that intelligence to make your decision about your team members. Any other method, no matter how much research you try to do online, Facebook forums, Reddit, as many different platforms as you can get on, none of them will compare to that on the ground intelligence. And I've said it now 15 times, so hopefully that little message got through there. Now let's talk about one of the most common shady practices that you see in Costa Rica real estate. And honestly, one of the things that gets more and more frustrating year after year is the presence of intermediaries, people who are trying to make money off of the Costa Rica real estate market, and they don't live here. They may only have vacationed here a few times and then set up a website, or perhaps they only live in the US and make occasional trips down to Costa Rica to become intermediaries in real estate transactions. It may sound crazy that that is common and that you're exposed to the risk, but it is very much something you see here, where if you Google any one of a number of Costa Rica real estate terms and land on whatever platform comes up, you may find brilliant photos and gorgeous listings. They may have some kind of on-the-ground support, people who are living in Costa Rica to answer questions. But really, you might be dealing with a remote service that really just posts real estate listings on their website that they've copied from other platforms. You may be dealing with somebody in the United States or Canada who does this as a little side business, and nothing can be the worst first step in your purchasing process than to select that person as your advocate. Really, instead of that online, oh, I've gotten great response and information from XYZ platform, land in the community and look with your own eyes which are the real estate brokers in that area and who can help you, and then check their background reputation. Year after year, I am surprised that a lot of people, they'll even be on showings with me. I will mention, oh, well, Jose X or, any kind of agent set up this showing. Did they explain to you the HOA fees or the taxes or this, that, the other? And I find out that the client who's been sent for a tour of my listing has never met the person that they've been involved with that was sending a couple emails and lining up showings. And that can create some really crazy situations down the line. So very much be aware that these people are out there. A lot of them have great intentions and they're trying to make an honest living. But aside from the fact that they're not on the ground here and they don't have that intimate knowledge that you need, to be honest, it's illegal for anybody who's not registered with our National Financial Oversight Ministry to earn commissions without being registered with this ministry. So there's also a question there as to legality, if they have an established business, etc. But more than anything, you want somebody who is in your community, committed with that long-term reputation. Next, let's go on to second category of very common scam you see here in Costa Rica, and that is the promise of titled beachfront real estate or concession beachfront real estate that is easy to own. And it's very common because so many foreigners are lured to the possibility of beachfront that you see a lot of agents, brokers, different people in the area who want to promise that they have beachfront real estate available at any cost to get a foreigner to sign a document and just send them money. Obviously, it would be wonderful if there were $40,000 or $10,000 small plots of beachfront land right on the sand here in Costa Rica. If you hear about these properties and somebody says they have the perfect opportunity right there in the sand, this small fenced in area with no construction, one of the most important questions you can ask to not even go down the road of a scam is to ask if that person has an existing concession and through what date is it valid. Because very often what they're trying to sell and what people might have sold 20, 30 years ago when we did have a Wild West real estate market was the first right to get a concession, which is basically a filing in the local municipality with the Zona Maritima, the office that manages the beach areas. They can have that letter and try and sell their right to eventually own that concession to somebody else. Because yes, it is a piece of paper. It's filed in the folder for that specific piece of land. So they sort of have the, right of entry on that lot until somebody gets them out of it. If you hear somebody selling beachfront real estate in Costa Rica and it's got a great price, no construction, and all you have to do is start paying the taxes for the concession, you should very much consider the possibility that what you're being sold is not an active concession with a defined contract and end date, but in fact, just that person's hope of getting a concession based on their first right of refusal filed at the municipality. One moment, please. By the way, I completely neglected to wish anybody a happy new year, happy holidays. I hope that everybody was able to spend it with family and enjoy whatever type of celebration you were having. I got to go to the US for 10 straight days and spend time with my amazing in-laws, with my amazing nuclear family, everybody. It was our first trip home to Indiana for Christmas since Anne Marie and I moved here together in 2011. So it was a pretty big deal, and we were very, very thankful to be able to do that. That's a quick explanation as to why you haven't seen my Costa Rica chats live every Wednesday night for the last couple weeks. But at the same time, that's my guarantee that we will be live on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Costa Rica time going forward. So do be sure to subscribe and get notifications so that you won't miss out on our fabulous live broadcasts. Let's move on to category 3 of Costa Rica real estate scams that I wanted to address in my chat tonight. And it's absolutely the biggest one that you've probably heard of if you're researching Costa Rica property on the periphery. And these are instances of land theft here in the country. And it's very much a threat. It's not just my job, and I don't want to sugarcoat everything about Costa Rica. There are people in our community who have had land parcels stolen, or at least they've had the attempt made to steal their land. And it is something that you need to make sure that you're addressing. First of all, let's go back to the positive approach here. The absolute key method to avoid this kind of problem and to never have your property stolen in Costa Rica is to only work with trustworthy public notaries for the original purchase. Excuse me, I even burp when I'm drinking water. So much for this. I'm going back to the good stuff and breaking my pledge. Sorry for that, or my New Year's resolution. If you pick a good public notary to work with you on the purchase of your property, you're already headed on a trajectory where you're very unlikely to ever fall victim to land theft in Costa Rica, because a public notary has to be party to the theft in order for people to rob, steal your land here in Costa Rica. If you haven't seen it on my channel, I'm going to post a link to an interview I did with Gabriel Chavez recently. Pardon me, the audio's bad. I now have some amazing new equipment I'm going to be using this year. We talked about exactly this topic, how you can avoid becoming the victim of land theft here in the country. I'm going to put the link to that video in the comments. Don't click on it because you'll leave my live broadcast now. But in that episode, we discuss the basics of how this happens, and above and beyond the fact that a public notary has to be involved in the theft, which means they have to essentially use your documents from the time that you purchased the land to sell it. But also, there is now a mechanism that you can avoid anything being done with your property here in Costa Rica without you knowing. And that's called Alerta Registral, which is a simple system with a yearly subscription offered by the Costa Rican government through the National Registry. I talk about the registry all the time because it's a public database where you can find real estate titles and all kinds of valuable information for your research. And the National Registry now offers a service whereby if you have property, let's say 203221, which happens to be our home's number, if you have that in the registry and you add an alert to it, you can get an email anytime somebody submits a transfer deed or any kind of document to the National Registry that would affect your property. That's the absolute, sort of backup additional protection you can have. Like I said, first and foremost is to choose the right public notary who would never be party to that and who's not going to target your land down the road to try and steal. In that video, Gabriel Chavez and I also talk about the fact that the times when this happens, really, you only see it for undeveloped land, because the reasons people are doing this, the land theft, is absolutely to be able to quickly get money out of the property. They either want to get a mortgage on it or they want to resell it to some unwitting buyer who's going to give them cash or move forward with the transaction without good due diligence. And by trying to make money on the property, it's very unlikely that they're ever going to try and sell a condominium or a home that's not theirs, because they're not going to be able to get approvals from the bank for a loan. And they're also not going to be able to sell it to a buyer who sees, wait, this doesn't seem to be your house, or you don't have access, etc. So watch that video when you get a chance with Gabriel Chavez as further information as to how to avoid getting your property stolen here in Costa Rica. But really, let me assure you that if you work with that right team, the people who provide good ethical service, you're going to be very secure in purchasing, in that really the only possibility of your property being taken are those circumstances where trust was given to the absolute wrong people. And if you're watching and you've been victim of that, I'm very sorry. It does happen again once it cannot be ignored here in Costa Rica. Finally, let's go over a fourth category of shoddy real estate practices here in Costa Rica that I think is important for you to really understand as one of the most common things we see, which is shoddy due diligence done by attorneys, agents, all parties involved, which results in future liabilities against a property. And this is tragically one of the more common issues that arises here, because first of all, a public notary, your lawyer, can check 100% into what is currently affecting a property. They can give you records of what's happened in the past, but there are unknowns that can happen in the future beyond your inspection, the possibility of mold, water damage, all kinds of stuff that can happen on the mechanical side. On the legal side, there are issues that do come up down the road. And what you really have to watch out for in Costa Rica are attorneys, agents, everybody, brokers involved in the real estate world who are more focused on making a transaction close than being willing to withdraw or help you withdraw from a sale. If things don't look right. Again, how could you possibly avoid this from the start? The choice of your notary, the attorney helping you purchase the property, that person is responsible for conducting the legal due diligence and giving you a full understanding of what you're investing in before your deposit is even non-refundable in a purchase process. If you choose the right person who operates ethically and who ensures that they protect their clients' interests first and foremost, you've gone down the path where your due diligence should give you, as an adult human being, the ability to navigate the purchase process and avoid any potential liabilities, or at least fully understand the liabilities that you face when you acquire a property. That's not to say that there are only transactions closing where a property has zero liens, liabilities, any kind of issue with the title, etc. Really, you do see transactions here where there are disclosed problems with a title. The access isn't registered. You might see that the land survey is just a little bit off. And buyers and sellers can adjust for that in the closing price. They can create a holdback, and you can transfer properties with those conditions handled as long as they're understood by buyer and seller. But the absolute critical thing is that you understand it and you really have a good feeling for where the property could be in the next 5-10 years down the road. More than anything, you can also ask questions. Specifically, real estate agents in your area should have enough history in that community and completing sales that they've seen those sorts of properties age, that they've seen that lawyer perhaps deal with different issues. Oh yeah, we had to register this access 10 years ago and it was no problem. You should be able to get reasonable advice as to how things should be resolved in the future based on the experience of your team, which, as I go back to saying, is the beginning, most fundamental, important thing that you can do. Choosing good stakeholders, advocates for yourself. It starts with choosing, in my opinion, a buyer's agent for the community where you want to work. There are people who focus very narrowly on a specific community, others who have a range of the coastline or sort of a few counties that they focus on. I think that picking one person to only represent your interests is a huge step, because when you've given someone that trust, that you've actually decided you want them to help you purchase property, they go from being somebody who's hoping to make a sale and somebody who's really just trying to hit it off with you to somebody who is actually advocating for you and hoping that in the long run, you'll be able to find something that truly works for your goals. I see a lot of comments where people say realtors are absolutely worthless, or in X region, don't even work with them. Your best bet is to go to the local restaurant, ask what's for sale, and go from there. I can't emphasize enough, if there are no realtors available, if you've heard no testimonials that give you hope that there's even one single professional in the area where you want to look, perhaps that could be the right strategy. But everywhere in the country where you can meet a knowledgeable person who's spent maybe 10, 15, 20 years in the community, who's helped dozens of people purchase real estate, in my personal opinion, as a pretty biased person here, I think it's worth paying that person 3, 5, 6, or even 10% in some circumstances for the service of helping you navigate the real estate market and helping you navigate which lawyers are good to work with, which escrow services, which topographers, which home inspectors, and helping you assemble your dream team for buying property here in Costa Rica. As always, I'll be back next Wednesday night, January 12th. Our topic will be where to stay while looking for real estate in Costa Rica. I'm hoping to get my gorgeous wife, Anne Marie, back on the show for that one. At the end of the month, we'll have at absolutely January 26th, we will be compiling the questions in my comments from all of these videos, and I'll be addressing as many as I can in a single Q&A on the last Wednesday of every month. Be looking out for my informative talk Tuesday videos, my real estate tour Saturday videos. Thanks very much for tuning in tonight. Be sure to subscribe. Have a good one, and pura vida.